The dry breath of a warm desert gale howls over the vast expanse of Namaqualand. For most of the year, this northwest corner of South Africa is an alien land, ravaged by the sun and sculpted by the wind. To persevere in this petrified world demands the most extraordinary strategies for survival. Rooted into the rocky facade is a resilient tree. It contorts its ashen limbs towards the sky in defiance of the elements. This is the Namakwa rock fig, the ultimate survivor. Its drive for water is so strong, it has the power to split rocks. In the rock fig's realm, only the toughest endure, with fierce determination. The mighty rock splitter offers salvation for many who dwell in this hostile world of crumbling stone. January is an arid and desolate time of year in Namaqualand. It's summer and it's bone dry. Winter rain is still months away. The region is in the grip of the worst drought in more than 100 years. Yet this area is a natural wonder, a biodiversity hotspot, boasting the richest succulent flora on Earth. But its true beauty remains concealed during the dry season. It's here that the weathered rock fig defiantly grips the edge of a jagged ridge in the Guchap Nature Reserve. But how does it survive here? Once upon a time, a fig seed became lodged in a tiny crevice on these rocks, and here it began to sprout. The sapling's roots penetrated the tiny cracks in the stone. Like a living, expanding wedge, they delve deeper and deeper into the fissures, eventually splitting the boulders. Its aggressive root system can grow almost 200 feet long. By drawing water from deep within the earth, the rock splitter retains its green mantle throughout the year. By midday, heat radiating off the searing slabs of stone caused the temperature to rise to a blistering 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Despite the intense heat, the desert holds a surprising array of wildlife. dazzle of Hartmann's mountain zebra also inhabits the valley below the fig. The adult stallion rules over his harem of 4 mares and their offspring. His distinctive high-pitched snort is a warning signal to drive off challengers. This species is smaller than the plains zebra, but what really sets these ones apart, their bellies have no stripes. Farther up, on the mountainous slopes around the fig, is the ideal foraging terrain for a herd of gemsbok, mostly females. One of this doe's horns never grew in, a birth defect. She keeps a watchful eye on the herd's calves. They remain hidden in the brush to protect them from leopards and prowling hyenas. Their mothers only visit them to nurse every few hours. At 6 weeks, the youngsters' striking black and white masks of adulthood begin to emerge. It's a sign that they're now ready to join the rest of the herd and start grazing on the Namaqua scrub. As the sun's first rays catch the rock fig's leaves, its canopy becomes a bright green beacon for life against the rocky outcrops. The tree produces a new crop of figs every few months, but they're most abundant in summer. They're much smaller than an average fig, not even 1/3 of an inch in diameter. But this is not the rock splitter's fruit. Hidden inside each fig are the tree's microscopic flowers. The fig's outer skin grows around the tiny florets, which turn into sweet-tasting pips as the figs mature. These are the tree's actual fruit. A Layard's warbler bounces from one branch to another, pecking at the tree's ripe, candied gifts. These little birds are tough, able to withstand Namaqualand's sweltering extremes. Wild figs are also the preferred choice of food for the pied barbet. It swallows the tiny packets of flowers whole. A dussy rat, also known as a gnocchi, devours the rock splitter's fallen figs. The large boulders close to the tree are a popular feeding ground for gnocchi. The little fig connoisseur rubs his chin on the rock's surface, marking his turf for the competition. These rodents, together with birds, are nature's unwitting gardeners. They help distribute the tree's seeds by scattering them across the mountain in their droppings. But if the tree's flowers are hidden from the world, how does it produce these seeds in the first place? The rock splitter's tiny flowers will only turn into fleshy pips once they have been pollinated by a partner that's evolved exclusively for this purpose. The tree's own species of fig wasp. A female wasp, already carrying pollen, enters the fig through an opening at its tip but the entrance is so small, she loses her wings in the struggle to squeeze through. Once inside, she lays her eggs in the flower's ovules. These turn into galls, food-rich pockets in which the next generation of wasps will hatch. Several of the flowers are pollinated in the process, and these ones will turn into seeds. The rock splitter cannot produce seeds without the wasps pollinating its flowers, and the wasps cannot breed without the tree's figs. The one depends on the other. Other wasps also visit the figs, but this wasp is not an ally. The parasitic invader inserts a long ovipositor through the wall of the fig and deposits her egg on a developing fig wasp larva. The tiny parasitic grub will kill the fig wasp grub and take over its gall. Hundreds of these intruders violate the tree's bounty and hinder the process of pollination by killing off the tree's true pollinators. But the rock splitter has allies. Insect-eating birds, like this pair of long-billed crombecs. They pluck wasps from every nook and cranny. The crombec only weighs half an ounce, but it can make a heck of a racket. It breaks off pieces of the tree's silvery bark, prying for spiders and beetles. In February, Namaqualand's summer heat becomes unbearable. But some actually thrive in temperatures soaring at 113 degrees Fahrenheit. To soak up the sun, a pint-sized dragon settles in on the sun-baked boulders close to the fig. This southern rock agama declares his status to rivals by positioning himself on the highest spot in his territory. But something catches his eye. A younger male is also basking underneath the rock splitter. The older male doesn't like competition, hunting and mating in his territory. He tries to drive off the youngster with a couple of intimidating push-ups. But the much smaller lizard isn't a threat. He's just hunting ants. Then the dominant male spots a second, much larger agama. This adversary must be challenged. But this intruder doesn't want to fight either and scuttles off. Hello. Now a female agama has wandered into his territory. His throat and forelimbs are a greenish blue. She has orange flanks, scattered with red blotches. This time, their push-up display is not a deterrent. It's a signal that both are in the mood for love. Male and female rock agamas are polygamous, and each will mate with several members of the opposite sex within their territory. Crystals embedded in their skin move to reflect light, allowing them to change hue. And the more the lizards flirt, the brighter their colors become. But in the end, she moves on. By March, the sun's unforgiving gaze robs the scorched land of its last moisture. But even in these harsh conditions, the rock splitter harbors new life. After 2 months, red adult male fig wasps are the first to emerge from their galls. They live for only a few hours. A wingless male's sole function in life is to mate with the black females. Once they've mated inside the fig, he facilitates her escape by chewing a hole in the outer fig wall. But before leaving, the female actively collects pollen to carry to another tree's fig, where she begins to lay her eggs. This intimate relationship between all fig tree species and their wasps has evolved over millions of years. Behind the fig tree, underneath a rock, hangs another of Namaqualand's wonders, a peculiar ball of sand dangling from a silk thread. Similar baubles suspend from almost every low-lying overhang in the vicinity, each about 1/3 of an inch in diameter. Hidden inside the tiny sphere is a spiral-shaped hideaway, an intricate matrix of silk, sand, and pebbles. The architects of these strange structures are safely tucked inside. The elusive inhabitants only come out at night. A bauble spider. This tiny male only leaves his hideaway in order to maintain it. The claws next to his mouth, his pedipalps, are black. A female with a slightly concave, more elongated abdomen has smaller, lighter claws. These spiders are tiny, barely 1/10 of an inch long, each with their own bauble. But this is not just their home. They also use it to seize prey. This hunting technique has never been filmed before. Each spider attaches capture strands from the bottom of the orb to the coarse sand underneath. It's a trap set for ants. This worker manages to avoid the fine strands. But another wanderer stumbles straight into the sticky snare. As it struggles, the spider senses the ant's vibrations and quickly drops down to secure her prey. She then hoists the ant up to her lair, pebble and all, where she covers her quarry with silk. The more the ant struggles, the more entangled it becomes. Each night, she catches numerous wriggling victims. And when the ants finally stop squirming, the bauble spider devours her meal. It's a highly effective way to hunt, one of the many incredible survival strategies in Namaqualand. In April, rolling clouds from the west are a promising sign. They bring hope of autumn rain. Namaqualand needs this moisture in order to stage its incredible display of desert blooms, unlike anywhere else in the world. Meanwhile, on the rock splitter's weathered boughs, a colony of pugnacious ants is tickling small marks on the fig's leaves. These almost invisible yellow patches are in fact alive. Hundreds of tiny parasitic bugs, known as scale insects, latch onto the fig to ingest its fluids. As they feed, the scales excrete copious amounts of undigested sugars and water called honeydew. The ants milk their generous benefactors of this nutritious nectar by stroking them, greedily lapping up the addictive syrup. They eagerly defend their honeydew suppliers against predators like birds. By May, autumn is drawing to a close. April's showers never came. The drought continues, leaving the scorched plains a barren wasteland. But the rock splitter doesn't waver. It pushes its roots deeper through the rocks, probing for any hint of moisture hidden below. In the valley below the fig tree, there's nowhere to hide from the relentless sun. Springboks slump to the ground to conserve their energy. In the middle of the day, they chew their cud, partly digested material that they regurgitate and re-chew. This allows the antelope to extract virtually all of the nutrients from within their food, so they don't have to graze during the hottest time of the day. While the rest of the herd conserves energy, two young buck burn up calories with some testosterone-charged sparring. May marks the start of the rut, the springbok breeding season. Males establish territories and round up female herds that enter these regions. But in order to breed, a male must defend his territory against young bachelors and neighboring rivals. The stakes are high. Their ringed 15-inch horns are effective weapons that can cause serious damage. If the spikes become locked during the fight, it can result in the death of one or both of the combatants. skirmishes are a rite of passage for the young males. And very few end in bloodshed. Underneath the tree's branches, a rounded toktoki, part of the darkling beetle family, feasts on bird droppings. He hears a tapping sound on the rock and responds. This is how these beetles attract the opposite sex. A male usually initiates the tapping and waits for a response from a receptive female. But this is another male calling. Females knock at a different rhythm, and so the toktoki moves on. The toktoki is determined to find a female. Every now and then, he knocks and listens for a response. Finally, he finds one. And she answers him. Unfortunately, females can be picky. She moves on to seek other prospects. At night, a full moon illuminates the desert, transforming it into a shimmering wonderland. A quartz gecko emerges to hunt under the rock fig. It doesn't have eyelids and cannot blink. Instead, transparent scales cover his eyes, protecting them. To maintain these spectacles, the gecko uses his tongue like a windscreen wiper. He senses movement. When you're only 2 inches long, everything in this harsh world is a potential threat. Aptly named due to her markings, this is a Beats's tiger snake. It's time for the gecko to hightail out of here. With a forked tongue, the snake tastes the air, attempting to locate her prey. Deciding it's wiser not to move, the gecko freezes to avoid detection. And the strategy works. The tiger slithers past. The tiny gecko curls up under a succulent, where he falls asleep. But there are many dangers on the desert floor. Like something crawling out of a nightmare, a hairy wanderer creeps over the rocks behind the fig. With specialized hairs on her legs, sensitive to low-frequency air vibrations, an Namaqua baboon spider detects the sleeping gecko. The spider seizes the squirming lizard with her enormous fangs and holds fast. Almost half an inch long, these weapons can inflict a considerable amount of pain to humans and are fatal to the spider's prey. When the writhing stops, she carries her dead quarry back to her home to consume her prize. In June, a smoldering mass of swirling fog obscures the sky. The rock splitter stands firm, anchored to the rocks as a cold wind wails through the mountain's desolate crags, snapping at all with its frigid bite. Namaqualand dons its winter coat, each hue darker and richer than before. Dark months of the wet season, a thick, dripping soup swallows the mountains and smothers the land. The white haze leaches the desert's color, turning everything to the same stony gray as the rocks. The silvery mist licks at every surface, until the world is covered with 1,000,000 drops of dew. These sparkling beads of water are what feed Namaqualand. A bejeweled dusting of moisture, critical for survival in this parched desert. The brooding billows become thicker and heavier until their burden is just too heavy to bear. But as quickly as they arrive, the clouds depart, their shadows drifting away over the mountains. The rain wasn't nearly enough. The drought still keeps a firm grip on the land. The teeth of winter shatter, and the kiss of a new season approaches. By August, the first of Namaqualand's seedlings peek out from under their crusty blanket. It's the beginning of a new cycle of life, a time of color. In the valley, at the base of the rock splitter's slope, holes riddle the ground. Their occupants? Thread-waisted digger wasps. In a buzz of activity, the females excavate burrows in the sandy soil. Underground, the wasp bites at the earth to loosen it. Then she gathers it up into a ball and carries it out of the burrow with the rakes on her front legs. She's digging this nest for an unwilling guest. A caterpillar who will harbor her egg. That's if another female doesn't steal her quarry. Each female needs a caterpillar, so these fights are brutal. The winner will take her prize underground, then lays an egg on her paralyzed tenant. When the wasp larva hatches, 2 days later, it will eat the caterpillar. Once she's dragged her prisoner underground, the wasp seals the hole with a pebble. She then buries the rock, disguising it, so that other females won't steal her bounty and replace her egg with their own. Sometimes she hides it a bit too well. Spring rides in on a gentle September breeze, breathing warmth back into the desert. Petals begin to unfurl. At last, Namaqualand is painted in bursts of blinding color as more than 3,000 species of plant bloom. Blossoming succulents adorn the land, their bright fuchsia blush a sight to behold. The dazzling tapestry of colors and sweet perfumes bewitches an array of strange fluffy bees, the bloom's pollinators. Bright, multicolored beetles gorge on the vast menu of Namaqua daisies. Even the toktoki gets in on the action. He bites off the flower's head at its stem and gobbles it up. The fresh, sweetly scented feast is a welcome treat from his usual dreary fare of dead plant and animal matter. But it's not just insects that reap Namaqualand's vibrant springtime rewards. The herd of gemsbok descends the jagged slopes to graze in the flower fields. Since last summer, the younger antelope have grown to magnificent adults. Once the males come of age, they leave the herd and head off to establish their own territory. But this year, Namaqualand held back most of its multicolored splendor. Less than half the typical annual rainfall fell in this region. The mere 2 inches were too little, too late. With no April showers, vast stretches of land remain without flowers. The rock splitter is an exception. In spring, the fig tree begins to sprout new shoots. Tender leaves rejuvenate its sun-bleached branches. And with them, fresh clusters of figs emerge. A Caruprinia sings from amongst the burgeoning foliage. During breeding season, the little bird and its mate are much more vocal. They gather soft tufts of plant down to build their nest. A pear-shaped pod hidden in a daisy bush close to the fig. The productive little homemakers can weave this comfy abode in as little as 4 days. Back in the fig tree, there's another nest with 2 tiny speckled eggs. This bag-like cup, made from stringy plant fibers, belongs to the Crombecs. The couple take turns to incubate the eggs, keeping an eye on each other from the top of the fig tree. When one gets hungry, the other takes over. Behind the fig, the Toktokkie is still scouting for a mate. He knocks to check. Who's out there? And once again, a female answers. They signal back and forth until his curiosity gets the better of him, and he finds her. He tackles her to the ground and clings to her with his legs. A hook at the end of his organ helps him to gain access. With this same spine, he injects a pocket of sperm, called a spermatophore, into her sperm purse. But she doesn't like this position, and he must come along for the ride. To keep her calm, he gently strokes the female with his antennae. But this will be his last joyride. A few days after mating, he will die. Tonight, the crescent moon hangs like a hunter's horn in the heaven's darkened abyss. The only light? A billion sparkling diamonds in a sky black as coal. These warm October evenings beckon Namaqualand's night stalkers. Amongst them, a bi-bronze gecko hunts for insects. But wanders into an ambush. The many-horned adder pierces the gecko with his fangs, injecting cytotoxic venom into his victim, dissolving it from within. Like a demon possessing its body, the toxins bleed into the gecko's nervous system, causing its last death throes. With its hunger sated, the adder won't have to eat for at least a week. The rock splitter bears witness to the birth of a new generation of crombec chicks. Their parents provide a steady supply of termites, larvae, and insect eggs to the growing youngsters. In the valley below the Fig, one of its own saplings has anchored itself into the boulders. With less rain falling each year, the young tree's future is unknown. But hopefully, it will join the cast of Namaqualand's great survivors. As temperatures continue to rise and drought grips Namaqualand, the rock fig thrusts even deeper into the earth to search for water. Its ability to break boulders gives it a winning edge against the harsh environment. Nothing can stand in the rock splitter's way.